welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today, we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not working so well, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, let's dive right in. Today, our special guest is attorney Jennifer Gore-Cuthbert. Jennifer is the founding attorney and owner of the rapidly growing Atlanta personal injury law group, Gore. The firm has collected more than $100 million for over 5,000 clients. We're excited to have her here today. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm loving all the female energy we're having on the show lately. I'm excited to dive in. So Jen, to start, tell us briefly about your story. How did you get started? Why did you launch the firm in 2013?
So I knew I was going to be a personal injury lawyer from pretty much the jump. I was in a bad car accident when I was in college, and I had to go through the kind of like legal process of recovering from an injury after an accident. I was in a pretty severe accident, and then my kind of boyfriend from high school was killed in a motorcycle accident. So I had like some back-to-back legal events that were not very pleasant. And so I just decided I wanted to become a lawyer. There was like more backstory to that, but the shortened version is I knew I wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer, and I knew I would do personal injury. So I switched into the night law school program because I wanted to work during the day. And I basically was a personal injury paralegal during the day, and I went to law school at night. And through that process, by the time I graduated, I already kind of knew personal injury because I'd been doing it for like 3 years. So I just started my law firm the day I got my license.
Nice. How were you bringing in those really early clients? Were you kind of establishing a network, or what were you doing at the beginning?
So I'm like a huge marketer by like nature. When I was in law school, even though I was in night law school, I had a very large network of friends in law school. I was a student body president. I was involved in a lot of organizations, and I was always telling people like, I'm going to be a personal injury lawyer. And I think you have to start your networking if you're in law school and you're listening to this, like very early on. It's a huge advantage. And so when I started my law firm, I reached out to everyone I knew. I said, I'm, now have my own law firm. If you have any cases, like I'll work with you, we'll share fees. And I had one friend who she was working at a firm, and they had taken a bunch of personal injury cases, but like they didn't really know how to handle them. That wasn't their area of specialty, although it was like they had gotten cases. So I came in, and she like said, if you work on these cases, we'll split the fees with you. So that kind of like got me started. Also, I just, had other word of mouth referrals. And then I started networking and knocking on doors, meeting people that I thought would be connected to my potential clients, like doctors. And I had a very large network of chiropractic referrals in the beginning.
Smart. So Jen, give us an idea of the size of the firm now. How many attorneys, how many on staff?
We have about 30 people here now, and we have between like 4 to 5 attorneys. And yeah, so we're very heavily admin driven in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of aspects of these cases that can be handled by amazing legal support. And there's certain things that have to be handled by an attorney.
Are you targeting a particular slice of the injury market? How are you positioning the firm?
We handle cases, motor vehicle, trucking, wrongful death, premises cases, and we kind of handle a wide range of the personal injury umbrella. We have represented people who've been on motorcycle accidents and bicycles. We kind of run the gamut, but I'd say our largest is regular MVA, motor vehicle.
What's your revenue growth been like since launch? Are you growing rapidly?
Yeah, we actually just ranked on the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in the United States, which is like a lifelong dream because I went to business school before I went to law school. And I really do see myself as a business person more than at this point, just a lawyer. I think a lot of people see themselves as just a lawyer. I really think if you own a law firm, you are a business person. So the Inc. 5000 was a huge thing for us. We have grown 7,400% since 2013 in revenue.
Wow.
And I mean, I think it's still, there's a lot of room for opportunity. I always am like, we could have done more, but I do think that we're fast growing. I think we've almost grown almost 100% every year.
That Inc. 5000 list, that's a big deal. Congratulations. That's really cool. And I was going to ask you about that too, because you do have a business degree as well. Do you feel like that entrepreneurial mindset sort of sets you apart from your competitors, gives you a leg up?
I really don't know because this is like all I know and the only way I think. I suspect, but I don't know. I mean, I just think everyone thinks like me, and that's where I get like so confused because I'm like, oh, you don't look at your data? Like I'm a data crazy person. I love data. I love reports. I love patterns. I like figuring things out. I like figuring marketing problems out. Yeah, a funny thing that went on that really helped me grow my firm was I had a maternity leave. My last child that I had in 2020, I decided I wanted to go off grid for 2.5 months, which I had never done with all my other kids. And so I worked with my business coach and my CFO at the time to build basically all these dashboards that I could run the firm on remotely and not have to really be in the firm for several months. And that was really transformative. And I really invite anybody that owns a law firm, you should be able to take 4 weeks off or 2 months off if you have a life event, if you want to go on a dream vacation, and if your firm is not in a position where you can have data and metrics to know that your firm is thriving or having problems, building that can really change your life.
I think some attorneys watching this would think that sounds crazy. They would think there's no way I can do that, right? So tell us a little bit about the specifics. Tell us about the dashboards, the workflows. What were you kind of on a high level tracking that allowed you to take that step back?
I had something built at the time called a flash report, which is basically, we have a lot of different data. Like we have production data, we have lead data, we have marketing data, we have, different litigation data. We have lots of different data, but when you get really good at data, what you look at when you're running a company is what is the key metrics, because data doesn't matter if you don't use it, right? And so we had certain key metrics, like if the production numbers were here and I had the data like created into like a report that was very easy for me to consume, like a flash report, just like 10 things. And if these 10 things are green, then the firm is good. If these 10 things are, red or 5 of them are red, you have to dig into those. And I also had an operations director running the firm for me and another, other attorneys here. So we had a lot of fail safes in place. And basically that the idea was, do not like stress me unless these things go to a critical level. And what was really transformative is that when I left and we left those kind of like things in place, everybody really stepped up to the plate and really, they didn't want to have to like call me and interrupt me, like if you create an environment where you can empower people, then a lot of times you'll see that they will step up and, that we hit all the same numbers when I was here or when I wasn't. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's definitely transformative. So let's dig in a little bit into this growth. What are you attributing this growth to? How are most of your clients finding you now? Let's talk a little bit about the marketing.
So what do I attribute to the growth? I mean, you have to always have a marketing mindset and a sales mindset, an intake mindset. you either need to grow your sales and leads or you need to grow your conversions. So if you have a lot of leads and you're not converting them, your opportunity could be there. And I think intake is one of those things where people could be doing really well and then they can fall into a pattern where they're not closing cases and signing people. So it's a thing you always have to be monitoring and training and helping kind of put energy into. For us, I just feel like every year we build our business plan based on case inventory, and then we make educated guesses on what we want to do and what we think is possible depending on what we've done because when you own a personal injury firm, your business plan for next year is very contingent on what you did this year, because you're signing cases up now that are probably going to resolve next year. So I see a lot of people they have really ambitious plans, but they don't line up to their case inventory. So it's kind of like moving the Titanic. You have to give yourself enough time to hit the goals you want. We have 3-year goals, 5-year goals. And I know if we don't do these things in year 1 and 2, we're not going to get to it in year 5. So you have to make a lot of moves before you're ready. Personal injury is one of those fields where you sometimes can perpetually feel like you're on a hamster wheel if you're growing really fast, because you double your case volume, let's just say your leads, your closed cases. Well, suddenly now you have to go and hire all these people to support those cases. And usually with the case lag time, you're not getting that revenue right away. But if you're looking at it from a business point of view and you're being very thoughtful and thinking, you're going to realize if you don't get that staff to support those cases, then you're going to lose those cases. They can fire you. So I just see a lot of people they're making hires way too late. You have to hire before you're ready. You have to do a lot of things in personal injury before you're comfortable or ready. It's just the nature of this industry.
Right. Making those strategic moves before you're ready so that you are set up for that growth and that influx of intake. Yeah, definitely. Jen, which marketing channels have the highest return on investment for you at this point?
It really changes from time to time. I think referrals are always important. And if you have good legal team that's providing good legal outcomes, it's easier to get those referrals and maintain them. As your firm gets bigger and bigger and bigger, your what we call a list should be growing. So the day I started the law firm, we started a newsletter, and that newsletter has been going for 9 years. So obviously our list is huge at this point, right? All the people we've come in contact with, that we've represented, all my professional network, those people are now part of our list. And so there's a aspect of, as your list grows and your firm gets bigger, if you've been cultivating your network, your referrals should get bigger. I still think it's always good to refresh your referrals and do other things besides the newsletter. But I do think your growth gets organic at some point, where you've represented people and then they're telling their friends. Digital is a major component for us. We do a lot of different types of digital. We do pay-per-click, we do local service ads. We were one of the first people in Georgia to get into that, and that was amazing for a while. But as all marketing does, all marketing goes lame at some point. And you have to think this is working now, but this may not always go, what we're doing now is working, and then that campaign can die. So you have to have a mindset of taking things apart and always kind of, I don't know, evolving things.
About what percentage of your revenue are you investing in marketing and advertising?
I would say 30 to 35%. We also are really big into SEO. SEO is a long-term investment, but it also, once you start making the investment, it gets better and better. It's kind of like your real estate in the internet. And I think a lot of people wait too long to really make serious moves into SEO. We do a lot of social media.
Get into that, yeah.
Yeah, and we do a lot of just general reach out to our clients. We do different times when we call our clients throughout the firm, like a call-a-thon,
Mm.
and just try to re-engage with people that we've previously represented.
Tell us a little about the call-a-thon. What does that entail?
I just think when you are a lawyer or a service-based business, you have these really meaningful relationships with clients. And then at some point, the relationship ends and you can fall out of touch with them. And so we every so often like to call and say, hey, we were thinking of you. We just wanted to touch base with you. Is there any legal referrals you would need that are outside of what we do? We have a very large connection group of lawyers that we could connect you with, and we just want to maintain top of mind awareness with them, because I can't tell you how many people we've seen on intake. Well, they'll say, we ask the question, have you ever had an accident before? And they say, yeah, I had a law firm, I don't remember who it was years ago.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no. That's terrible.
Right. I think often attorneys just assume that their past clients will remember them, right? I mean, that is the newsletters, they're old school, but they are a proven way of keeping in touch, staying top of mind with those past clients and those other contacts that you want to make sure that you're reminding them of what you do. Of course, if they need your services again, or certainly if friends or family need services again. I'm interested, are you emailing a newsletter? Are you printing and postally mailing a newsletter?
We have done a digital newsletter for this entire time. We look at our open rate. We look at what's getting clicked on. We have a goal for how many people we want to add to our list every single month. So I think the metrics and the tracking of a lot of the different back-end stuff and the referral marketing is something like only we've been doing for a few years. And I think that every single marketing channel that you're participating in, you should have metrics, we have reports, and you should have goals.
Are you doing anything to grow your list that is sort of outside adding past clients to it?
Yeah, I add, a lot of people that are professionally connected to us. We have a lot of relationships with lawyers outside of the state. And we get a lot of inbound referrals from, like, let's say that lawyers in, Minnesota or wherever. We also try to add, people that are connected to the law firm in other ways, vendors, people that, have a vested interest in knowing what's going on in the firm. And, everybody could know somebody that's in an accident that's in your personal network.
Smart. Let's talk briefly about SEO, because I know that is a big driver for you. Are you working with an agency? Is that something you handle in-house? Tell us about that.
Currently we're working with an agency, and we've gone through a variety of agencies, as I'm sure many people have. I love people that work in legal marketing that understand data. And I think that's the biggest thing for us is, having people that can provide answers to questions like I'm very curious, and we have a marketing director, and she handles a lot of those relationships. And it's like, well, why is this happening? And we want to understand why things are happening so that we can do them better.
So in that case, do you have any advice to law firms who might be vetting agencies, what to look for, how to know that the work is actually being done?
Yeah, we have, between weekly and monthly calls with a lot of our vendors, and we provide them our own reports, and then we cross compare our reports and data to what they're telling us is in their reports. And the vendors that are really good, that are really vested, they will give you really great data. They will want to engage with you. One thing that I figured out over time was that with SEO and PPC, whoever's working in those accounts, they should know what's happening on the end of the what they call a conversion. So if someone's calling the firm, they might have that data through CallRail or whatever, but they don't know oftentimes whether that client was actually like someone you could help or someone you've signed. So we provide them real live data of who converted on a daily basis. So we just have that data feeding in, and they can actually access the reports all month long. And it helps because you can't, like, if you're running ads or you're doing work and you're seeing this is really working, you want to do more of that, right? I don't know how you can really do marketing if you don't know what the outcomes are on the intake end.
Yeah, providing your own data, your own feedback to your vendors, I feel like that's a game changer, definitely. So let's talk about social media. It's how we actually were connected. I'm a big fan of the content that you put out, and you've really cultivated a loyal following. You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're at ATL Injury Law Group. Is social media a sizable lead driver for the firm?
Yeah, we've been on social media for years, like the old school version of social media. Like we've always had like organic posts and, I think even for 9 years since we started, but now it's more video content, which is, I think, what a lot of people are focused on, TikTok, Instagram Reels. And that has been like in probably the last year and a half that we've gotten really heavily involved in that. I went to a bunch of conferences and they were just saying, like, if you're not on TikTok, if you're not on Instagram, like you're not going to reach out to all the new generation of people that are going to be in accidents. So we hired an in-house videographer, and we have a marketing team now. And it takes a lot of time. In the old days, you could just do like one brand video and that would be good. And now you have to put out like such a volume of short content. So we batch shoot it. And what I've been really amazed by is we have gotten actual cases straight off social media, and some like really good trucking cases. But also I get people from all over that reach out to me and say, like, I watch your videos all the time. They're so informative. And it's like funny because when you do that field, you're like, doesn't everyone know this? Like,
Yeah.
but it's your area like of expertise. You think people know, like, oh, never give a recorded statement, but like a lot of people, they don't know. And if it's educational, you're really helping them. And so our referrals have gone way, way, way up. I also find that a lot of people that we previously represented remember us more because they're in our, like, we're in their social media. And it's just amazing, like when I go to like a conference or something, like how many people will know more about your firm because they get to see like an inside view of your company when you're on TikTok.
How are you coming up with your topic ideas?
Just truly just we have a brainstorming session, and some of my content the marketing team will come up with, and they'll say like I had one here earlier, but they're like, these are the topics we want to do. They'll look at some stuff that's trending, they'll look at other things. A lot of it, you just have to be creative. You have to put your own spin on things and then try things that other people have done and do it your own way. And sometimes it does feel very like redundant, like, oh, we've already done this topic. But to somebody else, they probably, hearing it more than once is always helpful.
I mean, and social media is so fleeting, right? I mean, they're not seeing each and every one of your posts, right? So I think you can really kind of reiterate that. What are you boosting any of your posts? Are you running ads, paid ads on social media?
Yeah, so we have actually someone who we have at the firm that's running Facebook ads on and TikTok and Instagram ads on our behalf. And so we look at what is actually working and then we will put money on it. So like if the post has already done well organically, then we'll increase it, we'll boost it. And it's all just a test. I think the biggest challenge when I was first starting doing TikToks and Reels and all that is just getting comfortable being on camera so much. It's still funny, like they come and film me and I'm like, oh, whatever. Like I'm just so used to it. But a lot of people, like, they'll say, hey, come be in my TikTok. And they're like, no, they don't want to be on camera. And it's hard to get used to, just like, I think you come to an acceptance of like, this is how I look on camera and you just go with it, you know, but people are so self-critical of themselves, their voice, how they look.
Yeah.
Um, you gotta like be you and own it.
I think that's probably what I hear the most often, that is sort of the biggest hurdle for attorneys to just start, right? Because they're nervous, they're uncomfortable. I mean, they can speak, intelligently and charismatically all day long, face to face, one on one, and then, the camera's on and it's this robotic, trying to figure out their voice. So how did you kind of get through that? You just kept doing it, or what was your
Yeah, I mean, my marketing director, she wanted me to do TikTok maybe in 2019 or something. And I was like, no, I don't, I was like, I was really actually resisting it, which is so funny now.
Yeah.
And then I just went to this conference. I'm like huge into like business coaching and mentors and all this. And like, I just like, when they have this saying that's like, when you're ready to hear something, you're ready to hear it. And so you could have heard it 100 times before, but you weren't ready to hear it. And so I was ready to hear it at that moment. I was like, that's it. I'm going in full steam. And that's just like kind of how I am generally. So I was like, we're going to do 2 videos a day for the rest of this year. And then it's just like a
wow.
numbers game. Once you've done so many, it's just like, whatever, you know?
Yeah, since you're batch recording, about how much time maybe per week do you feel like you're dedicating to social media?
I just have to show up for the content. So I just have to come dressed with my hair done with a couple outfits. So that's not the hard part. And then we maybe shoot like 3 hours. And then that can get cut into tons of little things. And that can do, a week or 2. So it's really not that time consuming if you're not editing them and coming up with all the ideas. Like I just have to show up.
Right. Like you mentioned, I know that you often mentor younger attorneys, and as you said, you really learn and network with more seasoned lawyers. How does that play into the long-term growth of the firm?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like at year 2 of the firm, I hired a business coach, and I just saw another law firm I knew that had been working with a business coach, and they were making like really fast progress. And I was like, "Oh, I want to do that." And so um as soon as I got a business coach, I remember they just started challenging me like, "Well, why are you doing it that way? Why are you doing this? Why are you the only lawyer in the firm? Why this?" And so I started thinking through, and I was like, "Ooh, I got to make some changes." So I think it's really hard to see your blind spots unless you have a coach or a mentor. And so, yeah, I've hired a lot. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching. I can't even tell you, like, but every dollar was worth every ounce of that money, because um if you can learn one thing that could set you ahead a year, 5 years, it's priceless.
And I would assume that's the same with masterminding with other like-minded attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 2 different things. Like coaching, business coaching is where someone sits with you one-on-one and like gets into the details of your business and looks at like all the things you're doing and says like, why are you doing this? And says like, maybe you want to consider these things. That's very like practical, like on the ground in the trenches. And then you go to a lot of other conferences and you just learn things, right? So conferences, you're just learning new things. You might hear, I can remember so many times in my life where I was sitting at a conference and I was like, oh my God, like that's the most amazing idea. And we're implementing that immediately, I remember like finding a software that I thought was transformational. So that's like conferences, and then masterminds is like a whole nother category. And that is a group of people that are getting together, and those people are sharing. So you have to show up and provide value. So when you come to a mastermind, you say, this is my problem. What do you guys think? And everyone uses their minds all together and they all try to like give you ideas. And then everyone is sharing and creating like shared group value. And they're usually private. And then the last thing of like mentors is somebody who is your like dedicated mentor that you can go to, you know, as a young lawyer, you might have a legal mentor. Hey, how do you handle this legal case? Or like, I have a lot of business mentors. Hey, would you do this if you were in my size, you know, firm?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what about community events? Do you get involved in community events and host charitable causes or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a scholarship that we've done, which has been really awesome. And you know, we have done a lot of different like sponsoring different local businesses through the holidays and different charities. Our staff sometimes picks a charity that they're involved with and we will donate on their behalf. I am involved with some schools locally. We sponsor a football team, we sponsor my kids' school. There's a lot of different things we're involved with, but you know, I think that a lot of law firms like us, it was like harder during the pandemic. So we're still kind of like getting back out there. But during the pandemic, it just seemed like, you know, you lost a lot of that connection with the community.
Yeah. Circling back really quick, I remember I want to ask you, do you have any recommendations for specific conferences for young lawyers or really anyone growth minded to attend?
Oh, there's so many legal conferences. It really depends on what you're, um, you know, focused on at the time, whether it's a marketing or whether it's legal education. There's probably a conference for all topics. I'm not sure, are most of your, members of in a specific practice area?
It's pretty broad, most consumer specialties. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say that you should find somebody in your world that practices the area of law you practice that's pretty successful or that you view pretty successful and ask them, what conferences do you recommend?
Smart.
There are conferences for the legal software you're involved with. There's conferences on social media for lawyers. There is like a conference on anything and everything. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So before we wrap up, Jenna, I always like to ask if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt one, maybe two of your tips, what would you recommend?
If you, my top tips, is, well, I think an easy one is start a newsletter. If you don't have a newsletter, it's so easy to do. You can use MailChimp, Constant Contact, different software, and just put together something once a month at least and send it all to your prior clients and, you know, network.
What are
Um,
you including? What kind of content are you typically including
okay,
in those newsletters?
so here's my newsletter tip, okay? People do not want to just listen to boring legal stuff in the newsletter. Please don't do that. Please save everyone from that. Like,
Yeah.
people are voyeuristic. They want to see behind the scenes at your law firm. So post something about the staff. If you don't have any staff, about you behind the scenes, you doing something. I mean, people like to see that. They even like to see something about you and your family, humanize you. We also post like a screenshot of like one of our Google reviews. You want to use it as an opportunity to like increase your credibility and what other people say about you.
Yeah.
I also think practical like tips about things that are connected to your field, but not necessarily legal is also really good. And we've even posted links to follow us in like our TikTok videos. And then if you've won any awards or done anything newsworthy, that's always something great to put in a newsletter. So it's like a kind of formula, light on the legal, high on the things people are like curious about.
You want people to actually read it, maybe share it even, right? Get used to receiving it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and you want to also remember this could also be a recruiting tool. If people like see your culture, see what you're about, they might want to come work there. There's just so many other like good uses for a great newsletter, and it should just be something that's really visibly like we use a lot of graphics, we use a lot of photos, something that people can just easily digest, and it's not heavy you don't want to go into heavy like legal content.
Yeah. Good, good. Was there another tip you wanted to share?
Another tip that I'm like always pushing is just increase your knowledge of data in your law firm. You need to have data. You should have data in real time, but just starting out, at least I've talked to so many lawyers that if I say, how many clients did you sign up this month? And what are their lead sources? They don't know. And that's such a travesty as a business owner to not know where your business is coming from. So my like number two, like really critical tip is please have a way to track on a monthly basis, whereas every single one of your clients coming from, every single one of your wanted clients that you did not convert, because those are also really critical as well. And where are those leads attributed to? And I know you all can say, well, we can get that data from our software, but you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
So find a way to look at that report. I look at it every single day. You could get there too, but at least on a monthly basis, understand where your business is coming from.
Track your data, look at your data, know your data. Yeah, great, great tips. Okay, Jen, thank you so much for sharing your advice with us today. It was a real pleasure learning from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and for putting on this show. I think it's really helping a lot of people out there.
Okay, let's boil things down. The top takeaways from Jennifer are: one, your marketing agency must learn final outcomes. On a daily basis, Jennifer's firm shares with her agency which calls resulted in actual clients or qualified leads. This way, the agency can focus on generating wanted qualified prospects rather than just prospects. Two, conversely, you must know the sources of your clients and wanted prospects. While your agency needs to know the endpoint of its marketing, the results, you should know the beginning of the agency's effective marketing, the marketing that delivers clients and qualified prospects. And remember, this is so important to Jennifer that she reviews those reports every single day. Number three, social posting has fringe benefits. We've heard from many of the guests on my show that social posting generates clients. Jennifer is adding that social videos also help keep you memorable with past clients and thus directly boosts client referrals. And just like her newsletter that she believes so strongly in. And number four, no matter how well you're doing, someone knowledgeable can always help you do better, whether through coaching, mentorship, conferences, books, blogs, or webinars like this. You can learn what's worked for others and adopt those successful tactics at your own firm. If your budget is tight, start with low-cost sources, but do keep learning, right? Thank you to Jennifer for being so generous with her time and her knowledge. Join us for another episode of the Grow with Cara show happening very soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.